Welcome, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. This is the one that is titled IPSA, or IPSA Kind of Magic. IPSA is the Independent Property Search Association, of which Hamish happens to be very involved, as does Heather, as does Jackie. And what we're doing today is we're trying to talk to you about how working with property search specialists, who are specialists in their own particular area, who've built up reputations and connections with councils and all the relevant people involved to get the best searches done, can sometimes be so much better than when those factory conveyancing corporate nameless faceless wonders where you get a different person every time you pick up the phone. Hamish, take us away, please.
Well, we could have called the title of this local authority search matters, if any of you know some of the titles of the other podcasts we do. But the secondary title that we did have was in actual fact Tales of the Expected. Now, collect Tales of the Unexpected. Well, they are Tales of the Expected because all of us here, with possible your exception, Gareth, actually, I think you've been well trained now, have come to realise that it is rather unexpected when you come to IPSA compared to having gone elsewhere for your searches. But I say expected because we know what to expect if we actually attempt to go to somebody who is not the local authority specialist. And all of our team that we have, all the members that we have of IPSA, we are very, very fortunate. We are the only organisation in the UK as a team of this particular nature, and we will use representatives in the locality of properties to actually carry out the search work. And that's what makes the difference. The people in the locality of where the property happens to exist.
Heather, one of the directors of IPSA, actually, but also you've been involved in this property search malarkey for quite some time. You must have seen it all.
Perhaps not everything, but I've seen an awful lot. I think just to go to the subject matter, the unique thing about IPSA and using an independent search provider, as Hamish said, you've got the people that are in that area, so they know the area, they know what to expect, but they also have good relationships with the staff in the local authorities, and that can be key. I had a case just a few weeks ago where somebody got in touch with me, a client got in touch. They'd been quoted, I think, 3 weeks for a property search for property in Telford, which is one of my local ones. Now, I know that I can get them done in 2 weeks standard, but this one was really urgent. So I got in touch with the council and they actually turned it around within 24 hours. So I had a very happy customer. And actually, as I think we've said before, the staff in the local authorities, in most cases, they don't want to be obstructive. They actually like to be helpful. And, so there are occasions when we, with our relationship, we know who to speak to. We've built up relationships with them over many years. And that's something that the factory conveyancers simply can't do. And the big search providers, they just haven't got those relationships.
So are you saying that the difference between 3 weeks and 24 hours in this specific instance was relationship?
It was a relationship and knowledge. It was knowledge of who to contact, but yes, relationship as well. Yeah.
Wow. Jackie, wonderful to have you. We've spoken with Jackie before, and Jackie, you have a wealth of knowledge of this because you were there right at the start of this whole IPSA malarkey, and where we are now is in many ways down to the cornerstones that you guys set right at the beginning. Can I ask you, during your time with this, you told me already offline stories that set my hair on end. There have been times where it hasn't gone quite as well as I'd expected.
Well, saying what Heather's saying about relationships, the thing is now, unfortunately, it's very hard to go and see a member of the council now because everything's done online. But prior to that happening, I used to physically go into the offices and look at the maps. So you dealt with the receptionist on the planning department. So then you did build up relationships. So you could, and you do know who to ring. The unfortunate thing is with these as Heather says, these big search providers, they don't have that time to build up that relationship. All they want to do is just get rid of things. And they also just say that this will take this long because we have got 50 searches in front of us that come in first. So yours goes to the back, where with an independent search provider, those clients are important to us, not just through the money coming in at the end of the month, but because of that relationship we build up with them. And they know they can come to us and say, I've got a mega urgent search, say, in Kirklees. How soon can you get it through? So fortunately, I can go down to Kirklees anytime, go in, do it, and come back, type it up, check it up, or check it all out, type it up, and get it back. I can even do it in the same day, because it's important to me that my client and their client are involved, especially the client that's buying the property. It's possibly the biggest investment in their life.
Yes.
They're eager to get into their property. They don't want things being held up by saying, oh, hang on, no, it's going to take 3 weeks before we can visit that council. Because we are local, we know when we can go into that council, where we can go into that council. When we get there, we know what we are doing. We know which website to go to, which link to go to, because we've been doing it for so long, where some of these big search providers have only just come on the market, I'd say, in the last 10 to 15 years, not even that. And the people they are employing are given, one that was quoted the other day, she was given half hours training. Now, half hours training to learn to do a search is ridiculous. Is not good. It's not good, because you don't know the ins and, I mean, yeah, we have all got to learn, but they just then, to me, pick up something and just send it through and say, that's it. And then that goes to the solicitor or the conveyancer, and they look and think, well, this is nothing to do with my property, because that person who's done the search does not know what to look for.
Yeah,
it's local knowledge, knowing that that's a new estate and there should be certain agreements on it, and etc. etc. So it's that with the local search provider, that, as we say, local knowledge, and local knowledge is so important.
Hamish, it appears to be that it's not enough just to be told the bare bones of the thing and the bare bones of the process. There has to be a fair amount of time involved in understanding what typically would happen with a new estate, what typically would happen with that kind of search.
Well, very, very much so. I mean, we would, when we needed to train people, we're right, we have the staff at the moment, but we would typically, we'd have people in the office, because in those days, as Jackie just intimated, we would be travelling from each of the council areas.
Right.
And if you were to add the combined miles that each of us would cover in a year, it would be absolutely astounding. So at least the good thing is we're not polluting the atmosphere any longer. However, what we've been able to do is to build up those relationships. And I think what makes it doubly difficult, what we have actually seen, and it's only because councils have improved in part. And I mean, Jackie's part of this, because a whole load of Yorkshire, they just became unitary authorities, and they combined, I don't know how many offices were put together to combine those Yorkshire sort of policy, but I'm working on some searches at the moment, and they're actually in an area which they're difficult, they're very antiquated anyway, some of the, and they combine them together and say we're unitary authority, but each of the searches are carried out differently by the different people. Right. Now, of course, if you don't have the experience that Jackie has, if you don't have the experience that Heather has, you're never going to find out who the heck to speak to about that particular property, because some of the people are still employed by that particular council. Not all of them. Sadly, they're getting rid of some of the best people. But the unitary authorities, and unfortunately, because a lot of these people are moving into sort of new jobs, they don't know anything about the other two council areas yet. They've got to find out about it. So IPSA members do actually know more about those, because somebody sat at a desk doing all of this hasn't got a clue. You've had to be in there. You've had to be in the fight to realise what the fight was about. You know, it's like sort of telling stories afterwards. And that makes a significant difference.
It does. I mean, the problem with the information being available largely online now does mean that somebody in one part of the country could technically carry out a local search on a property in a completely different part of the country. And they could probably do a reasonable job at that. But unless they're doing searches for that area all the time, they're not going to build up that knowledge, and they're not going to know where to look. They're not going to know that there's a secret web page somewhere that has got information on it that the public don't know is available. And that's the thing that we have, that the factory conveyancers or the big search providers don't necessarily have, because if they haven't got people in those areas, if they're now relying on desk-based research, that is limited to what you can easily find online. And the councils don't make it easy for you with the websites. You quite often have to do a bit of digging and delving around to find things. So if you're not on that particular council website every day, you're going to miss things, or you're going to not know where to find it. So, you know, it is a big advance, the being able to do the research online, but it's not infallible.
Yeah, I have one council that we can go online and get a lot of information, but we have to go into the offices to get the land charges information.
Yeah.
But what they don't realise, if they go onto the building control site to get the building regulations information, one, they don't get competent person schemes. And the other thing that is not online is your initial notices. You can only actually get them in this council's offices on their computer. What? So if you've got a brand new estate that's, say, Britannia Developments, who are on improved inspectors' sites usually, you will look at the building control and think, oh God, there's no building control being granted on those particular properties. I won't bother to look any further. I can't find it. But if you go into the council offices and know exactly where to go, you can go in and it will say the application number, and then it will the year, and it will have the letters INIT, which means initial notice, and it will give the date that the initial notice had been submitted. So then your client knows that, yes, this is a brand new site. It is an approved inspector's site, therefore NHBC or whoever. So I've got to dig for a certain amount more information on this search, but they've got the information there. But if you didn't know what you were looking for, you would not find that initial notice.
Jackie, it appears to me as if we kind of got one foot in the water and one foot out. The foot that's in the water has got all that online intelligence. The foot that's out is where there's just not made it there. And so, you know, you could do a sort of like a 60% success as far as doing an online search concerned. But that 40%, if you didn't know where to look, you'd be stuffed.
Yeah,
you would. And also, like if I go on a particular council's website in my area, you go onto their planning website and you click on, and it's supposed to give you all the planning applications for that site.
Well, does it not do that?
No, not always, because you might put in the initial application number and it brings up ones that weren't clicked, did not show on that site. So it might be submission of conditions that are attached to the planning permission. It might be an altered plot numbers and removal of plots, but it might not appear on the actual website when you click on it. It'll only appear when you put particular application numbers in, and it brings up more applications on that site, and you think, oh flip, there's another 3, 4, 5 applications that, you know, that weren't revealed, because their sites are not infallible. They're not 100% correct, because like everybody else who's feeding that information in, they're human beings, and human beings, unfortunately, we make mistakes.
Well, we seem to be the bottleneck where the mistakes seem to occur, if I'm going to be honest about it.
Yeah, and you see, unless you know that, and it's not just one council website, there are several council websites that the whole of the planning information will not come up. So you have to then delve deeper and deeper and deeper. And we will take the time to do that.
Yes.
I know the search providers that are a member of IPSA will take that time because they think, oh, that's such and such a council. They sometimes don't reveal everything. So I need to go in and have a further look. And it might take you another couple of hours, but you know, when you've done that report, that search report, at the end of the day, it's correct.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, where these other corporate providers, one possibly might not know it, two can't be bothered because they want to get the search back and they want the money in the bank. Where, you know, to us, and I will take a particular person, Lorna from PCCB, who, when she first came to one of our IPSA meetings, said she didn't realise how passionate IPSA members would be with their work. And I think you've got to
passionate. You've got to be, because you're effectively ferreting out what initially seems not to be available to you at all. You're trying to hunt down those elements of information that you, through experience, knows are there, but are not available to Tom, Dick, or Harriet.
I got asked a question the other week. I'd done a search on a property, and Heather and Hamish will know what I mean. It revealed 3 PCNs, which are planning contravention notices.
Right.
And now a lot of people, one, don't know what they are, and two, don't know how to find out the information. Well, a planning contravention notice is where somebody has made a complaint to the council planning department, and the council will send out what is called a PCN, and they will ask certain information. And you can tell from there whether the actual case has gone any further. So my client came back to me and said, you revealed these 3 PCNs. Can you find out any more information? So within 10 minutes, I'd sent back the information that I knew that through experience. Also, then I spoke to, like Heather says, I spoke to somebody at the council, and then they informed me, oh, well, we didn't go any further. So that I could then tell my client was, no, the matter did not go any further. There was no planning contravention, but it's knowing those silly little things, which are silly but very, very important.
Well, they're only silly in retrospect. They're bloody important if you don't get them right. Heather, you were itching to say something.
Yeah, I was sort of following on from what Jackie said there. There are a number of councils where if you were a big corporate provider, you would go into the council, and for the planning or building control, you would literally just put the property address in. And if nothing comes up, you'd say, oh, that's clear. But we would know by looking at it, well, that property looks a bit new to me, so there should be something on it. And very often it'll be, number 1 Sycamore Lane, and you'll find out that actually it's on the site of the Sycamore pub that used to be there until 5 years ago. So once you've worked that out and you put in the Sycamore pub or whatever, and you'll find the whole planning history there, which includes, demolition of pub and building of 17 houses. But it's that knowing to look a bit further. And I think very often you put the address in, if there's nothing there, that is where the bigger the corporate providers are more likely to stop and say, nothing there.
Yeah, because they're going to take the easy route. And if what you're saying is,
we would look and think, that doesn't look right to me. And often it's just that, that doesn't look right. It doesn't add up. So we delve a bit deeper. And sometimes you might think, actually, no, they were 25 years old and something's happened, blah, blah. It sometimes it isn't, you're delving for something that you're not going to find, but it's that feeling that this isn't quite right. And I need to look further to satisfy myself that what I'm providing to my client is the best possible information, the most accurate version of what's available. And that's what you get with an independent search firm that you're not going to get with your bigger factory organisations.
Hamish, it appears to me that the typical IPSA member has a mixture of 3 things, which is inquisitiveness, critical thinking, and bloody mindedness.
Yeah,
and
definitely. Yes.
And I think that wasn't required, because otherwise you'd stop way short of the whole truth. It's a bit like, I remember in the 70s there used to be a series, three pictures, black and white pictures, one showing a man cringing as a punk with mohawk and tats running towards him, another one showing from the opposite direction, so from the punk's view, and then another one will zoom out. There's a whole hod of bricks about to collapse on top of the guy, and the guy's trying to push him out of the way. It's having the whole view. If you don't have the whole view, if you don't have the whole picture, you need to zoom out. And I think what happens is most of the factory conveyances are happy with picture number one. Well, it must be the guy's being about to be beaten up by this fella. That's not the case because they're not getting the whole view. So, guys, to anyone listening, I think you've got to understand that the purpose, the raison d'etre behind IPSA is to provide you with the whole view because their members will go the extra mile. Hamish, would you like to take us home?
Well, I think the way we particularly look at it, because the great thing is both Heather and Jackie have gone into sort of greater depth. We haven't picked up on, because we've got a mountain. You ask Heather, because everybody goes to Heather and says, oh, that's where the complaints come through about what's gone wrong with the council. We've got a couple of tremendous examples from Jackie where we can actually demonstrate significantly the importance what IPSA members will do. But I think to simplify it, we as IPSA members consider information received from whichever region, and there's so many different places we can get it from, whether it comes from the council, whether it comes from land registry, the information is unrefined. We need to refine it. With this compared to the corporate, they have not been trained to refine in many cases. So they will portion. And in fact, I've even had this from a solicitor said, I assumed, Hamish, it was correct. And this was from land registry. I said, you cannot assume
nothing.
It needs to be. And do you know the great advantage? Because of that, and it doesn't matter where that information has come from, you get consistency within the report as well. So it's refined information, it is consistent, and it will be as accurate as you can possibly get it. And with the changeover, particularly to these new councils, the unitary councils as they now are, because the staff are not used to what's been happening in the other councils. They can't get to the bottom of it. Many of our IPSA members can, because they've been working at that council for 20 years. So they know.
Wow. Well, there's no substitute for experience, and there's no substitute for relationship. So, guys, if you've been watching this, please keep following on. We are here every Wednesday talking about all things IPSA. Thank you very much, Heather, for taking the time out, and Jackie, of course, font of all knowledge. And Hamish, thank you for helping put this together, because I think it's important to create the distinguishing factor. You see, in my mind, IPSA members know better than the factory conveyancers. They just go further. They just don't stop at the edge. They don't stop at, it must be enough now. They go right to the bottom, right to the heart of the matter. That's where the bloody mindedness comes in. So until next week, I ask you, keep your feet on the ground, but keep reaching for the stars. Keep using that critical thinking. Look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.
Bye.